My name is Lindsay Day. I am the Data Stream Program Manager at the Gordon Foundation, and I'm joined here today with Patrick Leclaire, who's our data specialist from the Gordon Foundation as well. And I'm tuning in from Peterborough, which is Anishinaabe Haudenosaunee territory, and Patrick's over in Halifax, Mi'kmaq, which is traditional unceded Mi'kmaq territory. So in this session, I'm just going to start us off with a little bit of background and overview of DataStream and the work that we do. And then I'm going to hand it over to Patrick, who will be giving a quick tour of the site and an overview of the upload process and how to publish data on DataStream. And then, like I said, we'll be opening it up for questions and discussions. So for those who are new to DataStream, just a really quick high-level overview of what it is. It's an open access platform for sharing and publishing water quality and sediment quality data. It's free and open for anybody to use, and it brings these data sets together across different programs and sectors and jurisdictions. DataStream was developed by the Gordon Foundation, where Patrick and I work. And for those who aren't familiar, the Gordon Foundation is a 55-year-old philanthropic charity with a long history in working to support freshwater stewardship and protection in Canada. And DataStream originally came about through a collaboration between the Gordon Foundation and the Government of the Northwest Territories, who was our founding partner to help build Mackenzie DataStream. And you can see the whole of the Mackenzie River Basin there. And this really came about. The Government of the Northwest Territories supports a really strong and robust community-based water monitoring program in the territory. They're just entering their 10th year of water monitoring. And so they were really interested in having a platform where communities could easily access the data that was being collected in accessible formats, as well as a vision of having a basin-wide platform. They're largely a downstream jurisdiction, so people are really interested in also seeing what water quality data and results are being collected from those upstream jurisdictions in northern Alberta and northeastern BC as well. So that launched in 2016, and once word got out about this great platform, people were really keen to see this in other regions throughout the country. The challenges faced throughout the Mackenzie River Basin are really similar in other places. There's a lot of great water monitoring work happening, but it can be really difficult to find out what's going on and what results are being collected. So in 2018, we partnered with the Atlantic Water Network to build Atlantic DataStream. And then more recently, we partnered with the Lake Winnipeg Foundation to build Lake Winnipeg DataStream throughout the whole of the Lake Winnipeg Basin. And then, as you know, since you're here today, our most recent hub, which is in the works, is Great Lakes DataStream, which we plan to release this fall in its full format. So and the vision is really to become a national platform for sharing water quality data. Throughout the regions that we work in, we really work with a diverse group of organizations that are collecting water monitoring data, governments at all levels, from municipal, provincial, territorial to federal government, as well as Indigenous governments and other Indigenous organizations. We work with a lot of community-based water monitoring initiatives, different watershed organizations, as well as academic researchers. And it's important to point out that the contributors, those that are uploading data to DataStream, do maintain ownership of their data. The data sets are published under an open data license, and contributors can also select a license that provides attribution so that if others are using the data, they are given attribution for the work. And DataStream issues DOIs for data sets that are published that help proper citation and tracking of data set use. And all this open data is really pivotal to informing strong and robust science, which can in turn inform policy and action around freshwater stewardship. And you can see in this cycle here that can inform, monitoring priorities and what questions need to be answered. And the cycle continues on through there. So DataStream really fills this role of being able to bring data together from diverse programs in an open and accessible and standardized format so that it can be used to answer some of these really important questions for freshwater health. In terms of where we're at for Great Lakes DataStream, so there's a lot of work happening over the last couple of years to bring us where we are today. A lot of research and outreach to, first of all, make sure that this was something that is also needed in this region. We began some collaborations with the University of Waterloo, the Water Institute there, and Conservation Ontario, and hosted a data workshop in December of last year, looking at data needs in the Great Lakes region and what barriers and opportunities are there for better data sharing for water quality data. And now in early 2021, we're working really hard to help bring as many groups on board that are interested in publishing their water quality data on DataStream. So we've started what we're calling a data drive and providing all sorts of supports to people to be able to help them get their data formatted and uploaded and organized onto DataStream. We're planning, like I mentioned, the release of the Great Lakes DataStream, the full release of the site in fall of 2021. So at that point, you'll be able to go to the site and access the data and see who is monitoring and contributing. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, we really would love to have an in-person launch of the platform. We're looking at spring of 2022 at this point in time to host something like that. So that's where we're at today, and I'm going to hand it over to Patrick now, who can provide a bit of a quick tour of the site and what it has to offer, as well as how the upload process works.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. Yeah, so I'll take you guys on a quick tour of DataStream. You know, there's only so much we can do in the short time we have here today, so I do recommend everybody after this to go in and kind of play around the site yourself. But in general, this is Great Lakes DataStream. As you can see, it's in beta currently. We're coming fall of 2021. So there will be some changes to be made, and then, you know, once the release happens this fall. In the meantime, though, on the main page here, just a couple of things I wanted to point out. One is, as Lindsay mentioned, our data drive. If you want some more information, you can find out here. That's where you can kind of register for some one-on-one sessions with myself or my colleague Mary, who's here today, to help get your data online. We also have some more kind of just information on some of the work we've been doing in the region. On some other pages also, before I get into kind of the fun part of it, the data part of it, we also have some resources here. If you're looking to find out more information on how to get your data onto DataStream, we have some webinars and videos you can watch here, as well as materials for how to get your data prepared. And then you can also find out more about who we are. And finally, DataStream is also provided in both English and French. Yeah, you can choose both languages here. That being said, though, I'm going to jump in and kind of show you guys the meat and potatoes of it, the map and what that looks like and how you can explore. To do that on Great Lakes DataStream, on the other sites, you don't need to log in, but since Great Lakes DataStream is in beta, you will need to log in to be able to view the map. So if you are interested in setting up an account, you can go up through login, set up your account, and then we can get you set up from there. But the main part of DataStream is our map-based search. So as you can see here, when I go to the Explore map, I get all of these different points with different numbers. So that's how many locations exist within these larger buckets. As I zoom in, we get to see more and more points. And then I can start to, you know, zoom in on a particular area or water body that I'm interested in and see all the locations that exist. And I can hover over and see kind of what the names of those points are. In addition to kind of just doing a map-based search, we also do have a search up here where you can filter by the organizations, characteristics, and regions that you might be interested in. So once you identify a data set that you might be interested in, so if I just zoom in here, if I click on this data set, I can see here the name of the site. I can see that this is the Provincial Water Quality Monitoring Network data. So that's a data set that's collected through the provincial government of Ontario. If I click on this data point, it's going to open up this visualization page. And this is where I will be able to actually visualize the data that exists within this data set. So on the left here, you'll see all of the different locations that exist at this data set. It's the provincial government of Ontario, so there's a lot of data in there. It's also pulls up the location, and I can choose which characteristics. So right now I'm visualizing the temperature, so I can hover over the points. I can zoom in to get, you know, more of an idea at a particular place in time. And then I can change and see all of the different characteristics that are collected here and change through those characteristics. So for example, if I'm interested in pH, I can switch over to pH and see the pH data here. You'll also notice these dotted lines popped up. These are the CCME guidelines. We have the CCME and the US EPA guidelines for acute and chronic freshwater and marine. So you're able to actually compare your data very easily against these guidelines to see if you have any exceedances and if you're kind of falling within those guidelines. You can also change. We also take sediment data. So if you are doing any soil or sediment, we take that on top of surface water. You can also add different locations on to cross compare, either on the left here or through the map itself. So if I come over to the map and I look at, let's say there's another location, this one down here, I can add that to my compare and, then I can come up here and now I can see a comparison between these 2 points, zoom in and start to get a better idea of the pH difference between those 2 locations. Some other features here, you can do box plots, really good for getting a general idea of the site. We have some other general statistics here, so you can see the min, max, and mean at the site. We have this great science explainer tab and feature where for many of the parameters, the most common ones for sure, you can come in and it explains just a bit more of why that parameter matters, what it is, how it's measured, just to give people a little more context around the data that they're looking at. Then over here on this tab, you can also adjust your date range. Download the data set here, either the entire data set or just your selected locations. View any attachments. So if people have any kind of reports or monitoring procedures, they can add those here. As Lindsay mentioned, we also do data licensing. So this is where you can very clearly see what the data license is for that user. And then finally, we have an API, and this is an automated interface where you can directly connect and pull into DataStream computer to computer. Finally, we also provide this data set level metadata. This just gives you some general idea of who's collecting the data, how they maybe collected it, what the program is. We also provide a DOI. So this is the digital object identifier. It's a permanent link that people can use to always go to the data. It's also great for citing the data. It's a really good citation tool as well. So this is kind of the general visualization tool. So when you get your data all together and upload it into DataStream, this is where you end up. This is where people can go in and explore your data, or you can explore your own data and other people's data in your region. So how do we get to this point? We do that through the upload process. So once you create an account on DataStream, you reach out to us. We'll set you up as a data steward. What a data steward is a data steward is somebody who's then allowed to upload data. Then you'll see this upload data tab, and you'll have your data sets here. So this is where you come in to add a new data set. So agree to the terms. And to upload a data set, it's pretty simple. You just click and drag your CSV file into the site, and then it will automatically start to upload it for you. So you'll notice here that I got these pop-ups here. This just gives you some general warnings and maybe some errors in your data. With DataStream, we do have a data standard that the data needs to meet. This data standard is what allows us to do all the great things like the mapping and the visualizations. It also allows us to unlock other tools that we're developing in terms of doing downloads across subsets, where you could download all of the data for one watershed at once. So you put the data into the standard. It's based off the United States Environmental Protection Agency's WQX model. It checks against that. It lets you know if there's any errors that need to be fixed. So you can then go in, make any necessary changes. When those changes are made, you just re-upload your corrected data set, fill in your metadata level, your data set level metadata, and then it uploads to the site. So when it does finally upload to the site, like I said, you'll see it here. So you can go into this data set, find out some information. We do versioning, so we'll let people know what version the data set's at. So if there's been a lot of changes or any modifications. And then this is where you can come into your data set and add new data or modify existing data. So if you notice a mistake, if you notice a unit's off or a location name or a value, you can go in and make those changes, and then that'll be reflected in the version and in the change log, so people will be able to see that. So this is the upload process. It's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. So to get your data ready for this upload process, like I said, you need to put it into the data stream format. That can be done in a number of ways. The most common way that we see this done is through our upload template. So our upload template exists in two forms. One is a Google Sheet and the other is this Excel template. What the template does is it walks you through step by step what information you need to put in and helps format the data for you. So this first page is just some instructions, but the main part of the data standard is this allowed values tab. It just lays out, what columns are necessary and what information goes into each columns. Things like you need location information and it needs to be in decimal degrees. So once you kind of get your data ready and you want to put it onto the site, you just go through these tabs, fill in the information. So this is your dataset level metadata. This is information on your different locations, your characteristics, and then finally your results. Once you put all this in, you just go to the export tab. It'll bring all that information together. Then you save it as a CSV and upload it. This is a pretty quick overview. If you do want more information on how this whole process works, you can set up a training session with us. We're also running a webinar next week that'll go through this in a bit more in depth. We also have some materials on our YouTube page that walks you through this. But I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a kind of flavor of what it looks like. Some other options that we do provide for getting data onto DataStream besides the Google Sheet and the Excel template. We have what's called our ETL process. It's basically a way for us to integrate with existing databases and pull data from there. So currently we're doing that with the provincial government. So with that Water Quality Monitoring Network and the Lake Partnership Program, we're pulling both those in. But we're also doing this with some of the CAs. So for example, the TRCA, Toronto Regional Conservation Authority, we're working with them as well as Water Rangers to help pull their data directly into DataStream. So if you have a monitoring program and you're collecting data in the field and you don't currently have an open database where you're sharing this information, this is the best way to put it in is through the template and onto DataStream, and we'll provide that sharing. But if you do already have an open database and just want to kind of provide your data to a larger aggregated database where all of the data is in the same format and kind of increase visibility, we can also help you with that as well.